What's most important to you? At Saltis Investment Advisors, that's the first question we ask. Wealth is about freedom. Freedom to live life on your terms. Our fee-only independent approach means our advice is unbiased and designed to support your goals. Saltis looks beyond traditional investments with solutions in private markets, alternative investments, and other exclusive opportunities. Saltis's trusted advisors will implement strategies designed to provide you with security, flexibility, and peace of mind. With offices across the country backed by a national team of experts, contact Saltis Advisors at 435-670-7300 or visit saltisadvisors.com. Let us help you pursue life's most important endeavors. Saltis Advisors, 435-670-7300.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel, a day after Christmas Day. And that, of course, can only mean one thing. It is the smoke break powered by BetUS. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you and yours had a terrific holiday yesterday. Hard to believe another Christmas has come and gone, but it was a wonderful Christmas on this side of things here in the Connecticut, downstate New York area. I hope wherever you're at, you and your family had a terrific Christmas day. Lots of great food. I hope Santa treated you well. I hope Santa treated you better than he treated the Buffalo Bills on Christmas Day. A lot to talk about as we saw a ton unfold in just 2 games from the NFL on Christmas afternoon. 2 god-awful games. Streaming live on Netflix. In between all of the Netflix original content promotions were 2 NFL games. I don't know if you noticed. It was legitimately from 11 a.m. when the pregame started until about 8 p.m. when the Ravens game ended. Man, did it not just feel like 9 hours of, hey, this is what's coming to Netflix. Make sure you tune in. Thought the broadcast itself in terms of the visuals was terrific. There was no issues. Back when we had the Tyson-Jake Paul fight, all there were issues, right? Kept cutting in and out. People weren't able to watch the fight. People were wondering if that was going to happen again when Netflix took over the streaming rights for Christmas Day for the NFL. Had no issues on my end. Very clear, very good-looking picture. Did not love the whole broadcast itself. Just thought they tried to cram too many people in there. I'm never a fan of a 3-man booth. That's what we got for the Steelers and Chiefs game. It should be 2 guys. It should be a play-by-play and a color guy. I always feel like when you add one more color guy, it's too much color for me. I think the perfect blend is just 2 guys up there. That's why, for the most part, that's typically what you see, 2 guys up in the booth. It just felt like there was so many mouths to feed. Like the pregame show for the Chiefs game, you had Bert Kreischer out there with his shirt off with the Steelers fans. You had like 12 different people come on to plug something going on with Netflix. I don't know. Get used to it, though, right? Christmas Day will be on Netflix. The Super Bowl will eventually be on Disney Plus, whatever. Nothing we're not used to already. By now, we already have, Netflix, Peacock. Obviously, YouTube TV has the rights to Sunday Ticket. Amazon has Thursday night, which is, of course, tonight's the final Thursday night game. So nothing we're not used to. If anything, continue to get used to it. There'll probably be another streaming service thrown in our face next year that we'll have to sign up for a game. But outside of that, thought it went well in terms of the streaming itself. And I thought it looked good, which at the end of the day, that's all that matters. The product on the field, however, was not good. Those games blew. They sucked. And the crazy thing is, you would have thought, based on the fact that there were 4 AFC teams playing on Christmas afternoon, that the games would have been competitive. They would have been entertaining, fun to watch. It could not have been more of the opposite. The Chiefs dismantle a Pittsburgh Steelers team that is showing you that they are exactly who we've always thought the Pittsburgh Steelers to be post-prime Ben Roethlisberger. They are an anomaly all throughout the regular season, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers, they just find a way to win. Whether it's ugly, whether it's dominant, somewhere in between, they find a way to win. And then December rolls around into January, and Pittsburgh starts to show their true colors. They have lost 3 games in 11 days, all to playoff teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers are showing you that in all likelihood, they are going to be, it's crazy to say this. They might not be a first-round exit because of the next team I'm going to talk about, but at the very most, a divisional round exit. Pittsburgh looks bad. And they looked awful against Kansas City. Not taking anything away from Kansas City. We will talk about them at length later on in the show. But besides what they did against Kansas City, they have looked bad for the last few weeks now. Not the time you want to be looking bad. And even though they had a healthy George Pickens on Christmas Day, it did not matter. The Steelers could not do anything offensively, and they're showing you going into the playoffs that they're kind of what they were last year going into the playoffs, even though last year they didn't have their quarterback situation figured out. That's just a team right now that I don't think threatens anybody at the top of the AFC, and you saw that on display yesterday. Speaking of a team that I can guarantee you will be a first-round exit, well, I guess the better way to put this would be one of those 2 teams that lost yesterday, not only do they have to be a first-round exit because they're likely to play each other right now as it stands, but they would be a first-round exit if they were playing anybody else. I have to give the edge right now, I think, to Pittsburgh over Houston because of how bad they've been looking recently and how awful they looked on Christmas afternoon. 31-2, which by my intense surprise was not scoregami. That score had happened back in 1965, a 31-2 final. So that was not scoregami. I would have bet my life that it was. 31-2. We had the first shutout of the NFL season on Monday night in a god-awful game between the Saints and the Packers. We would have had another shutout on Christmas Day if it were not for a safety. This Houston Texans team coming into the year after a surprising year last year, C.J. Stroud looked incredible, and the Houston Texans looked like a team that was going to be vying for the top of the AFC coming into this year. Wow, have they fallen off a cliff. C.J. Stroud, I don't know what's happened. Now, I understand that offensive line is banged up. I understand you've had a litany of injuries on the offensive side of things. Diggs, of course, out for the year. Tank Dell now out for the year. Nico Collins has been in and out of the lineup. That doesn't take away from C.J. Stroud flat out missing wide open receivers all game long. That offense couldn't do anything. And as we know, Baltimore's defense, it has gotten better as the season's gone on, but that's not a top defense by any stretch. They couldn't do anything. So it's very interesting. You look at yesterday and you look at who was playing and you're thinking to yourself, wow, this could be 2 potential playoff type games here. You have 4 playoff teams. If the season ended right now, and even if it doesn't end like this, in all likelihood, the way that the picture is going to wind up forming, all 4 of those teams yesterday are going to be in the playoffs. And it didn't look like that at all. You saw 2 teams that looked like they're Super Bowl contenders. You saw 2 teams that didn't look close to playoff contenders, yet they will be in because Houston has already clinched a spot in a god-awful division, and Pittsburgh will be in as well, despite the fact that they have fallen off of a cliff the last couple of weeks. A lot happened yesterday afternoon, despite the fact that those two games were awful, and the majority of what happened was not beneficial for Buffalo. Let me take that back, actually. All of what happened on Christmas afternoon was not beneficial for the Buffalo Bills, despite being on the nice list all year long. Despite the Bills being nice all season long, they wound up on Santa's naughty list when Christmas came around. The Bills were left nothing but lumps of coal yesterday. Josh Allen was left coal. The Bills and their playoff picture, their road to the Super Bowl, became the yellow brick road to a road made out of coal. And it was not a Merry Christmas for Buffalo Bills fans yesterday in terms of your NFL fandom. A lot to talk about in this episode of The Smoke Break in regard to what we saw on Christmas afternoon. Let's start with what is seemingly the biggest topic of conversation right now in the NFL, and that is who is going to win the Most Valuable Player award. We have been talking about this ad nauseum on this show. Everyone has been talking about this ad nauseum on any show, whether you tune into YouTube, you turn on the radio, you throw on any podcast to do with the NFL, you throw on the television. This is the topic of conversation right now. Who is going to win the MVP? Last week, after the Detroit Lions victory, the Buffalo Bills beat Detroit in a game where Josh Allen has yet another remarkable, incredible, historic performance. After that game, Josh Allen was minus 900 to win the MVP, meaning you would have had to have bet $900 to win 100 on Josh Allen winning the MVP. Better way to put it would mean he was all but locked up. That changed significantly over the last 10-ish days or so. Right now over on BetUS, Josh Allen is minus 225 to win the MVP. Like I just told you, we are a couple of days removed from Josh Allen having odds that were more than 3 times greater than what they currently are now. He went from minus 900 to minus 225 with Lamar Jackson at plus 175. Lamar was in the high plus 300s to 400 range. That has come down significantly. If you want to still get in on the MVP odds, by the way, do so on BetUS. We're going to be talking about the MVP, of course, right now. We're also going to be talking about the Super Bowl odds, which are currently up on BetUS. You can get in on it using the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. So obviously by now you are well aware of what the current landscape is in the NFL and how that is going to dictate what the MVP might look like in just a couple of weeks from now. It felt like after the Rams game, despite the loss, Josh Allen had 6 TDs, and then he carries that into a Lions game where he dominates again. Not to mention, a couple of weeks prior to that, he gets a W over Kansas City, which still currently stands as the only blemish on their season thus far. They were the only team to score 30 points on them in the last almost 2 full seasons here. He dominates the San Francisco 49ers. He has a throwing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, a catching touchdown. It was a masterclass. You know, Josh Allen goes nuts against San Fran. He goes nuts against the Rams. He goes nuts against the Lions, and he had a terrific performance against the Chiefs with that game-capping touchdown that'll be played on his highlight reel to the end of time. But as you know, it is a what have you done for me lately type league. The NFL, you're only as good as your next at bat in this league. And in terms of the MVP, what Josh Allen did against the Chiefs, what he did against the Niners, what he did against the Rams, what he did against the Lions, even though that was all just a couple of weeks ago, even though that was a 4-game stretch of pure dominance that was barely, a few weeks removed. We've barely been a few weeks removed from it. Despite that, it doesn't matter. What have you done for me lately? How did you fare at your most recent at-bat? And here's what the landscape currently shows us. Josh Allen struggled against one of the worst teams in the league in the New England Patriots. They were a 14-point favorite in that game. They win by 3 points. Josh Allen did not look good by any stretch in that game. And you got to remember, the bar for Josh Allen, he sets it so high for himself that even a decent day for Josh Allen just doesn't seem all that good. because his bar is so high. When he falls under that, when you don't meet the expectations of the spectacular that he's shown us week in and week out this year, it just seems way worse than it is. But unfortunately, against the Patriots, it wasn't just an average day. It wasn't a mediocre day. It just wasn't a good day. It was closer to bad than it was good. And it was a really bad time for Josh Allen to pick a game against a bad team and have a performance in which he had. Because Lamar Jackson was set up to do exactly what he just did. And this was my fear in terms of winning the MVP going into the last couple of weeks. I had just thought maybe it won't matter as much. That was probably my bias showing, because it mattered exactly as much as I should have known that it would. Lamar had 2 standalone games against 2 playoff teams. And if you don't know this by now, then let me tell you. When you play in a standalone spot against a playoff team, that is going to shake up narratives far more than a game in the 1 p.m. window will. When you are playing on the world stage, no one else is competing with your time slot, and you're playing against a team that is going to be contending for a Super Bowl, that's going to stand out far more than a game in the 1 p.m. window where you're stacked up on red zone with 7 other games and not the whole world just isn't locked in like they are on Christmas afternoon. In that spot, however, where Josh Allen was, laid up in a Sunday afternoon spot, did not play all that well. And here comes Lamar Jackson. And he gets to play the Houston Texans and he gets to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they run it up on both of them. And even though Lamar himself, it wasn't like he put together performances that you're going to look back and remember for life. It wasn't like he went absolutely nuclear. He played well. And he played well enough to where it stood out. 5 touchdowns total in those 2 games. A passer rating this past game against the Houston Texans of 143, a passer rating of 115 against the Steelers. Not as good of a performance against the Steelers, but that's a divisional game and a game that in all likelihood flipped the script in terms of who was going to win the AFC North. That's why that game is weighted more. And even though he didn't play maybe an MVP type game, it wasn't a bad game by any stretch, way closer to good than it was bad. I'm just saying it wasn't off the chart spectacular, but it didn't have to be. Winning that game holds a lot more weight than Josh Allen playing a mediocre game against the Patriots and winning as a 14-point favorite by 3. And then you're playing the Texans on the road on Christmas Day, standalone spot. Everybody in the world who's a football fan has the game on. And even though he had 168 yards, nothing crazy through the air, he had a couple of those splash plays, including that rushing touchdown that was gorgeous. Takes it to the right side, off to the races. Boom. Despite the fact that it wasn't an insane day, a 300-yard day, or it wasn't like he had 5 touchdowns or even 6 touchdowns like Josh Allen had against the Rams, it didn't have to be that. Because it was in a standalone spot against a playoff team in which his team absolutely dominated. And as you know, to the victor go the spoils, and the victor is always the quarterback of the winning team. Now, in a loss, the quarterback also gets the most criticism. So it's a double-edged, it kind of goes both ways. You got to even it out. The quarterback always gets more criticism than deserved in a loss. He always gets way more praise than deserved in a win. Derrick Henry had 24 carries for 162 yards against the Steelers. But Lamar Jackson had 3 touchdowns. And you really don't give a damn what Derrick Henry did on the ground because Lamar had the 3 scoring plays, and Lamar's the one currently in the MVP picture, not Derrick Henry. So no one really cares in terms of the MVP award. No one really cares that Derrick Henry had 162 yards against the Steelers because Lamar had 3 touchdowns. And as I just mentioned, in a win, the quarterback is going to get the most attention, even though he might not have been the person that deserves the most attention. Like I said, Lamar didn't have an insane day, but he had a damn good day. And that's going to trump whatever Derrick Henry did. Unless Derrick Henry scored all 3 of those touchdowns, it was always going to be Lamar that gets focused in on. It's just always going to be the way it goes. And then we turn to the Texans game. Derrick Henry, once again, 27 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. But have you heard anybody talk about what Derrick Henry did on Christmas Day this afternoon? Probably not, because you're hearing about what Lamar Jackson did. And Lamar Jackson, once again, did enough to where he is going to get the main storyline after a game where it was really an even-keeled offensive performance where Derrick Henry played a massive role in how that game went. Lamar Jackson, once again, he had 3 touchdowns. So I misspoke earlier. I didn't include the rushing touchdown. So let me actually double check here. I think I might have misspoke. I might have been only looking at the passing touchdowns here. Just wanted to make sure. Here. Yep. So he had 3 touchdowns, Lamar Jackson did, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then he had 3 touchdowns once again against the Houston Texans. So you look at the overall outcome in both games. You had 30-plus points scored, and the Ravens dominated in both games. The game would not have been as dominant in the Ravens' favor if it were not for what Derrick Henry did, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter when it comes to the MVP. All that matters is what did the guy vying for the MVP award do in that game, and what was the final outcome. And what Lamar did was score 6 total touchdowns in those games, score 30-plus points on the offensive side in those games, dominate both of those games, win both of those games. When you pair those 2 games to what Josh Allen did against the Patriots, what have you done for me lately? And Lamar has done more lately. And that's what's the saddest part about this award. And I think that's ultimately what's kind of... This award has become increasingly more invaluable to me. The biggest word in MVP, the biggest word in that acronym is the word valuable. However, it's most valuable player. It's not the best player, TBB, MVP. Most valuable player. And you could argue in the last 2 games, the most valuable player for the Baltimore Ravens was Derrick Henry. But that doesn't matter because Derrick Henry is not right now, or really, hasn't really ever been in conversation for the MVP. Now, there's games throughout the year here where you could argue James Cook, he was the most valuable player for the Bills or whatever. But that list is awfully short. You go throughout the year, you can make far more of an argument that Derrick Henry was more valuable for the Ravens in given games than anybody else was for the Bills outside of Josh Allen in their games. It's a long-winded way of saying the last couple of weeks have unfortunately made a major impact on how this voting is going to go on this award. And I think that right now, the odds of Josh Allen winning MVP are in major jeopardy. And I would not have thought this just a couple of weeks ago. I don't think that Lamar Jackson is undeserving of the MVP whatsoever. In fact, you could argue he's very deserving of it. But what I was getting at in terms of the fact that this award has kind of been watered down to me, this happened last year, where Lamar Jackson had pedestrian numbers, but there wasn't a runaway winner for the MVP, and there really wasn't an overwhelming competition to win it either. It just felt like going into last year's Christmas Day game against the San Francisco 49ers, the Baltimore Ravens go into that game and dominate. But going into that game, it felt like the MVP, for whatever reason, had boiled down to the winner of that football game was going to win it. People forget that Brock Purdy had a very good chance of winning the MVP going into Christmas Day just a year ago from yesterday. But the Niners got rolled, and Lamar Jackson played terrific. And it was never the same since. Lamar Jackson won the MVP on Christmas Day last year. But when you go back and look at the totality of it, Lamar Jackson didn't have an MVP year. The only problem is nobody else really did either. You could argue that Josh Allen did, and Josh Allen was the better player, and Josh Allen had the better numbers, but he also threw way too many interceptions, and that is unfortunately what seemed to disqualify him a season ago. He also didn't have nearly as good of a record. The Baltimore Ravens had the 1 seed. The Bills barely backed into the playoffs the way that they played in the beginning of the year. That all factored in. But now all of a sudden, that's not factoring in. The Buffalo Bills right now have 2 games. They have 2 more games in their win column than the Ravens do. And in all likelihood, they will finish with 2 more games in their win column than the Ravens do. Josh Allen has very similar numbers to Lamar Jackson. Not as good. Lamar Jackson does have better numbers right now. But last year, Josh Allen had significantly better numbers, just way more INTs. But the records seemed to play way more of a factor last year. Lamar Jackson led his team to a 1 seed. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, they weren't really vying for the 1 seed. It just felt like because of that, Lamar Jackson's the MVP as he's the quarterback of the best team in the AFC going into the playoff. The award seems to be very driven by who's saying what on the talk show of that given week. Who's saying what on the debate show. Because believe it or not, that's who's voting for this award. The people who are setting the narratives, the people who are watching the standalone game and then immediately come to the conclusion that that game's more valuable than the 4 games that happened going into the weekend, that's who's voting on the award. So you can think about it from a bias perspective if you're a Bills fan. You can think about it from a totality perspective and based on the whole season, or you can be realistic and think about it based on how these voters think about it. And they're going to be thinking about the most recent thing that they saw. And the most recent thing that they saw was Josh Allen not play very well against a really bad team in the New England Patriots, and Lamar Jackson play pretty damn well against 2 playoff teams. Lamar Jackson has the numbers this year to win the MVP. He deserves to win the MVP if he should win it, based on the numbers. If Lamar Jackson had these numbers last year, me, Rico, and whoever else questioned the validity of being 1 vote shy of a unanimous MVP last year, those who question it would have had nothing to question. Would have been a no-brainer. These are MVP numbers. This is what I struggle with right now. You have to remember, a lot of politics involved with these awards, not just on the NFL, not just in the NFL. All of these things have a lot of politics involved. Okay? If Lamar Jackson were to win the MVP this year, not only would he win back-to-back MVPs, he would have now 3 MVPs in his career. Josh Allen would have 0, and Patrick Mahomes would have 2. And this is what I struggle with. And it's based on what happened last year. Everyone wanted Lamar to win it last year with subpar numbers, and he did. Now that he has deserving numbers, and you add that to the whatever-ish MVP last year, the whole thing to me just isn't really adding up now. Is Lamar Jackson 3 MVPs better than Josh Allen? Is he an MVP better than Patrick Mahomes? If these guys were to all retire right now, Lamar Jackson would finish with more MVPs than a guy that we might go down saying was the greatest to play the position when it's all said and done. If they were all to retire right now, you can't say Mahomes was the best because he doesn't have as many rings as Brady, but you could argue that he was right there at number 2. If it all ended right now, if all 3 of these guys hung up the cleats after this season, we're going to look back and Lamar Jackson's going to have more MVPs than the guy that we were arguing might have been up there with Tom Brady, who was the undisputed greatest of all time until all of a sudden Mahomes and the Chiefs go on this run here. Lamar Jackson's a hell of a player. He's one of the best I've seen. 3 MVPs, 1 better than the guy we're going to be arguing was maybe the greatest of all time. I don't know. Josh Allen, on the other hand, this is what kills me the most out of all of it. This is what kills me the most. Josh Allen has been right up there in terms of the overall play. No, Josh Allen doesn't have the rings. Neither does Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has 2 playoff wins in his career. Yet we would look back and see that he has 3 MVPs. How is it possible that the guy could finish the year here with more MVPs than playoff victories? I understand that they're not necessarily correlated. You vote for the MVP before the playoffs, but at face value, is that not insane? Is that not crazy? If they were to all hang it up right now, Mahomes would have 3 regular season MVPs, Mahomes would have 2 regular season MVPs, Lamar would have 3 regular season MVPs, and Josh Allen would have 0. You can argue till you're blue in the face whether or not Lamar Jackson's better than Josh Allen or Josh Allen's better than Lamar. There's probably an argument out there. There clearly is. People have it all day long. That's fine. There is no argument in the history of mankind. There is no argument on any planet in any reality that Lamar Jackson is 3 MVPs better than Josh Allen. There is no way. And if it were to all end at the end of the season here, you're telling me that Josh Allen would finish his career with 0 MVPs to Lamar Jackson's 3? And this is the narrative that was set last year in giving Lamar a Mickey Mouse MVP. And it's not an indictment on Lamar. And this is what Ravens fans seem to be failing to understand. They think that Bills fans are massive haters of Lamar. They think that we're massive haters of Lamar Jackson. Couldn't be farther from the truth. I love Lamar Jackson. The majority of Bills fans that I talk to do as well. I've always said that if you love the NFL, you cannot dislike Lamar Jackson. I dislike the Chiefs because of what they do to my Bills. I dislike Travis Kelce and Mahomes because of what they've done to my Bills. I don't dislike watching the Kansas City Chiefs in any capacity. Anytime the Chiefs are on, that's must-see television. Why? I'm a diehard football fan. I love football. Therefore, I can't hate the Chiefs in terms of their watch value, their entertainment value, what they bring to the NFL. I can hate them because of what they do to my Bills, right? The Josh Allen-Lamar rivalry, yes, Josh Allen has one divisional playoff victory over Lamar, but it's not like they have a rivalry that Mahomes and Allen currently have in the playoffs. It just doesn't exist. So how you could hate Josh Allen being a Ravens fan, or how you could hate Lamar Jackson being a Bills fan, I don't quite get it. But if you go online now, that's all it is. It's just hatred towards one side or the other. And putting my bias aside, I lean towards the Bills side of this thing here in terms of the what the hell value, because if you look at the numbers right now, Lamar has better numbers and he's deserving of an MVP, but Josh Allen has had an unreal season with incredible numbers that are right there with Lamar's. He's got 2 more wins, which mattered last year. That mattered last year. The seeding mattered. The amount of victories mattered. The amount of losses mattered. He's doing it in a year where they weren't even projected to win their own division. They won it in week 13. Right? They weren't projected to win more than 10, 11 games. They already have 12 wins going into week 17 with 2 more on the schedule. He wasn't supposed to be able to do anything offensively compared to what he's done in the past because of the loss of Stephon Diggs, the loss of Gabe Davis. This team collectively wasn't supposed to do half of what they're doing now because of all of the losses that they had. And yet they're doing it. And Josh Allen's doing it in a space where he was expected not to do it. And if he didn't do it, this team wouldn't be a shell of what it currently is. Josh Allen showed you this year that he's the most valuable player in the league, because if he was not what he was, the Buffalo Bills wouldn't be close to what they currently are. There's just no debating it. There's no debating to me that Josh Allen this year, despite a lousy game against the New England Patriots, in a win, a divisional win, mind you, There's no denying to me that this year, more than any, Josh Allen proved his value to the Buffalo Bills, his value to the league. Because in a year where he wasn't supposed to do anything, he did maybe the most he's ever done, maybe had the best year he's ever had, while also eliminating the turnovers. And when it's all said and done, could set the Bills up to have their greatest record going into the postseason in the history of their franchise. And what kills me is I don't understand how a mediocre performance against the Patriots can all of a sudden completely wash out domination against the Niners, the Rams, the Lions, and handing the Chiefs their lone loss. Josh Allen beat both number one seeds as it currently stands. And those teams are what, 26-1 combined against the rest of the league? But all of a sudden, a iffy day against a divisional rival where they still won. And I'm not saying that, it was not a good day from Allen. It wasn't a good day for the Bills. It just wasn't. They played poorly. But how does that just kind of wash out everything? While Lamar Jackson has good days against two playoff teams, while Derrick Henry runs rampant against both of them as well. And I'm seeing, this being brought up here, right? John Marlowe's coming in. Lamar lost to the Browns. He also lost to the Raiders. And this is what I'm talking about. It's a what have you done for me lately type league. Lamar lost to the Browns and the Raiders earlier in the year. If Lamar lost to the Browns yesterday, he wouldn't have a prayer of winning the MVP. He wouldn't have a prayer. If Lamar lost to the Raiders last week, he wouldn't have a chance. He lost to him at the perfect time, middle of the season when this stuff doesn't matter towards an MVP. That's why for those bringing up that the Bills lost to Lamar straight up, nobody cares about that. The voters aren't going to care about that. That happened in week 4? So as much as we want to say Lamar lost to the Raiders and the Browns, yeah, that's reality. But it happened months ago. Nobody cares. As much as Ravens want to say the Bills lost to the Ravens head-to-head, as much as those fans want to bring that point up, it doesn't matter. It happened in September. What have you done for me lately? And that's why all of a sudden a race that looked locked up by Josh Allen is no longer locked up. And Josh Allen is going to have extraordinary days coming up here. And in all likelihood, he's only going to have one chance to have an extraordinary day because if the Buffalo Bills beat the New York Jets, they'll have locked up the 2 seed, and I would imagine they don't play their starters against the New England Patriots in Week 17. The problem I have currently with this award, though, is it's not a reflection of what the year was, or it's not a reflection of the value of the guy to the team. It just seems to be a reflection of, what did you do in December? What did you do in the last couple of weeks? I mean, that's just kind of what it feels like. But what I think the biggest thing here that Ravens fans fail to understand is the reason why people are frustrated with the idea that Lamar could win it again is because they feel like he didn't deserve to win it last year. And now that he does deserve to win it, it just feels like, I don't know. I think it probably just comes down to the fatigue. And the Lamar MVP fatigue was brought on by him winning it last year in what felt like an undeserving situation. Nobody would care about it if he were to win it last year the way he would potentially win it this year. I mean, that's just kind of how I see it. Here's a list of players that have won the MVP at least 3 times. It's a short list. Very short list. That Lamar Jackson would join in year 7. Right? This is Lamar Jackson's 7th year. And he would join this list within 7 seasons. Here's the list. Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. That's the list of players who have won 3 or more MVPs. And when it's all said and done, we're going to look back and think about Lamar as one of the best to play. One of the most electric players we've ever seen. Maybe the most dynamic player in terms of the running and throwing ability we've seen. I think there's an argument between Allen and Lamar there, but it's all based on your preference. They play two different styles, right? They run the ball in two different ways. They just play two different styles of football, in my opinion, and it all falls down to what your preference is, I suppose. But for Lamar to join that list 7 seasons into his career and Josh Allen not have a single MVP to his name, I don't know, man. There's just something about that bothers me. Because I don't think that any reasonable NFL fan thinks that Lamar Jackson is 3 MVPs better than Josh Allen. I just don't see it. And I feel like anybody who is a logical, reasonable NFL fan who's tapped in, I just feel like they would agree with me. Are we going to really look back and consider Lamar Jackson to be 3 MVPs better than Josh Allen? I don't think that that's indicative of what we've seen throughout their careers here. I just don't think that's the case. Keon coming in here, a Ravens fan. I'm loving this. I hope we got some Ravens fans in here because I want to make it very clear, and I have made this clear, but I got to double down on it just to make sure I put it out there. I love Lamar Jackson. There are certain guys, like I mentioned earlier, that you can't dislike if you are a football fan. I hated Tom Brady more than anyone on the planet. But did I watch every single game Tom Brady played in? Every meaningful snap? Absolutely. Of course I did. I'm a diehard NFL fan. And you think I'm going to turn my face away from watching greatness? Hell no. Despite the fact that it was at my expense for 20 seasons, there's no chance. There's no chance. Same thing with Mahomes. Lamar, to me, one of the most likable guys in the league on the field and off of it. Love him. And this is what's killing me about this whole MVP discourse. It's that it's tearing people apart and it's making people look real ugly. They're talking about things that have nothing to do with the award. They're making themselves look like asshats on both sides of the fence. Bills fans are doing it and Ravens fans are doing it. And they're all just stuck in their bias. I'm not biased in the sense that I am fully aware that Lamar has had an incredible year and he's awfully deserving of the MVP. But what I also realize is that winning it last year the way that he did now has people looking at this year saying, why did last year count the way it did, but this year doesn't seem to count the way last year did? And now it's just, this is why this award to me in general right now, it's becoming more like the Pro Bowl to me, where it just seems like it's just less and less valuable every year. And it's not taking anything away from anybody. It's not taking anything away from anybody. But last year, I just feel like set a weird precedent, and that's why the fatigue right now is currently being weighed on Lamar. And I think the fatigue is also looking at what I'm looking at and saying, how are we going to give Lamar back-to-back MVPs when Josh Allen had a very similar season with arguably less in a year where they were not expected to be nearly as good as the Ravens, and he is going to then finish this year with still 0 in the MVP department, and Lamar Jackson's going to bump it up to 3. At the end of the day, last year, the Bills backed into the playoffs. Lamar Jackson was the 1 seed. The Ravens in the offseason aesthetically, visually, got better. The Bills got worse. Derrick Henry added to the Ravens. Stephon Diggs removed from Buffalo. And last year, Lamar's the 1 seed. The Bills barely won the division. Had a 0.1% chance to do so in late November. Going into this year, the overall opinion was the Ravens got better, and they were already the 1 seed last year. The Bills got worse, and they barely made the playoffs last year. Right? So now that the Bills they have proven that they were far better than what they were supposed to be, and they've shattered expectations. to be fair here, the Ravens kind of missed expectations. The Ravens were supposed to be the 1 seed, 2 seed at the worst. And losing games to the Browns and to the Raiders, that kept them from being where they probably would have been, should have been, had they won the games that they should have. And I just feel like the narrative going into the season was set up for Lamar to be in this position at the end of the year and for Josh Allen not to be. And the fact that Josh Allen has overcome all of that, right? He's overcome all of that in a season where he wasn't supposed to, and Lamar's right on pace with him in a season where he was supposed to. I just feel like based on the optics of that, it leans to Josh Allen. If we're thinking about the politics of this, here's what I feel like leans towards Josh Allen. Lamar's coming in with what was supposed to be the better team. Lamar already has 2 MVPs, and he won it last year. And I feel like based on the politics of it, wouldn't you look at it and say, well, if Josh Allen had a similar year to Lamar and they both were unbelievable throughout the season, wouldn't you lean towards giving it to the guy whose expectations were far lower this year and who's never won one, rather than giving it to the guy who would win consecutively in back-to-back years and didn't meet quite the expectations that were held for them? Because in reality, even though the Ravens don't feel like they're any worse than last year at all, the Ravens finished with the 1 seed last year. In all likelihood, they're going to finish with the 3 seed this year. That's a step back. The Bills took a step forward. I don't know. A couple super chats coming in here. At the end of in reality, these MVPs, this MVP chatter is breaking my brain, and it's really just pissing me off. I've actually never cared less about it. At this point, just give it to whoever. I can't stand going on social media anymore. It's all anybody's talking about right now, and it just seems to be like engagement farming on both sides. You got people killing each other in the chat. The reality of the situation is that they both have played at an MVP caliber, and the way I see it, the Bills shattered expectations. The Ravens came a bit short of what their expectations were. Lamar's won 2, Allen's won 0. Feels like Allen's very deserving of it this year. Why don't we give Allen the 1 MVP? Lamar still has more. And I think that's where I go back to what I was talking about in terms of the optics of it. If we're going to look back here, Lamar is going to have 3 and Allen's going to have 0. I just don't think that adds up at all. You know, Mahomes is going to have 3 Super Bowl titles and only 2 regular season MVPs. And Lamar is going to have 3 regular season MVPs with 2 playoff wins. And that's the other thing, too. It's not like Lamar has established any more voter credibility in the postseason. Sometimes that trickles over. Sometimes what happens the prior year trickles over for good or for bad. It's not like Lamar went nuclear in the playoffs, right? Allen and Lamar have both had their struggles of being able to get over the hump. So it's not like they're that separated from what they've done. That's what makes it even harder to understand. What Lamar and what Allen have accomplished are relatively similar. But when we look back on it, if I have kids, say I have a kid tomorrow, and when they're my age, 27 years from now, they look back and say Lamar and Josh Allen never win a Super Bowl. Let's just talk hypotheticals here. Let's say Lamar and Josh Allen never win a Super Bowl. And let's say Lamar does win the MVP this year. When my kid is my age and he looks back, not knowing what I know because he didn't live through it, he didn't watch it, he just watches highlights, right? And he looks at the statistics and he looks at the awards. Him and all of his buddies are going to look back and say, wow, Lamar Jackson must have been 10 times the player Josh Allen was. But anybody who lived through this period knows they were on the same playing field the entire time. Yet the trophy case is going to show 3 MVPs for Lamar and 0 for Allen. History as it stands right now is going to look back on Josh Allen incredibly poorly. And that's insane to me for a guy that people argue could be one of the greatest players at the position of all time in terms of the dynamics he brings to the sport, in terms of the athleticism he brings to the sport. Josh Allen is an anomaly in terms of the quarterback position. If you were to build a quarterback in a lab, it would very much look like Josh Allen. And you can rank these guys wherever you want. But the thing of it is the conversation has always been, for the most part, The conversation has always been Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, rank them in whatever order you want. How is Josh Allen out of all three of those guys going to be the only guy with nothing to show for it? And that's what kills me about it. Joe R., bro, I still have PTSD from what the Ravens did to us. And the way the playoff picture looks like, we play Ravens second round, I want a Super Bowl. Well, I mean, you're hitting all the nails on the head there, Joe. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute here. We're going to be talking about what really matters. And that, of course, is the path to the Super Bowl, the playoffs as they currently stand, and what's shaping up here for the Bills in terms of how they're going to get that done. We're going to talk about that in just a minute here. But I hear you. It was the major reason yesterday why things did not go in the Buffalo Bills' favor. To me, this was like the whole MVP thing. To me, this was more like you didn't get what you wanted in your stocking. The whole Ravens winning, Steelers losing, Chiefs winning, that was more like I got gigantic lumps of coal underneath the tree. And, you know, Santa pissed in the glass that I left out for him with milk in it. He pissed in it. Right? Man. Keon is saying Richard Sherman tried to warn us Ravens fans about Lamar winning it last year because now the numbers won't matter even when he's having an A-Rod type season historically. Keon, that's a great way to put it. And this is kind of what I'm getting at. When you win it in a way that isn't sexy and when you win it in a way that doesn't seem like it was, I'm struggling with deserved. Because no one really deserved the MVP last year. It was a very odd year. Like, in all likelihood, let's be honest here, in all likelihood, you know, if Saquon ends up shattering the single season rushing record this year, let's just say that this year was last year in terms of Saquon doing that. Say he got traded to the Eagles last year instead of this year. I mean, Saquon probably would have won the MVP, and you would look back on it and say, well, no kidding, he did. He broke the single season rushing record. Deserving. Right? But last year, you know, you could have given it to McCaffrey, I guess. But that's not what the award is anymore. It's a quarterback award. But anyway, you know, last year, no one really stood out. No one separated from the pack. And Lamar just happened to have decent enough numbers and look good at the end of the year and get the Ravens the 1 seed. And those things kind of all puzzle piece together an MVP trophy. And now that he's having a legitimate MVP year as opposed to last year where it just felt like he won by default, it's harder to want to give him the award because of that. And I don't necessarily fall into that camp. Like, because to me, I think that if Josh Allen was not having the year that he was having, I'd have no problem with Lamar winning back-to-back MVPs. None. You can't help what last year was. But it just feels like with those two being on such even ground right now in terms of the dominance that they've displayed this year, it just feels like you have to lean Allen a bit because of that, because of last year. And you can argue against me and you can disagree, and that's totally fine. That's the whole point of the exercise, and that's what people are doing ad nauseum right now, just in a very malicious way, which is ridiculous. I mean, you can totally have an opposite take of that. But that's just kind of how I see it. I like to look at these things from the historic perspective because that's how we're ultimately going to look at these things. What do we talk about when we look back on guys? We don't talk about, oh, yeah, remember the season where Allen had that one touchdown, or remember that the season Allen had 4 consecutive 40-plus touchdowns? I mean, maybe Bills fans will talk about it. Sure, we will. But collectively, NFL fans, what do they say? Remember Lamar Jackson, 3 MVPs. Remember Patrick Mahomes, 3 regular season MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 MVP trophies. Or 3 Super Bowl MVPs and 2 regular season MVPs. 3 titles. Oh, remember Josh Allen? Oh, yeah, I remember my dad talking about him. Yeah, he was damn good, but it's crazy. He doesn't have any, how good could he have been, though? He doesn't really have anything to show for it. I mean, that's what it's going to be. That's the discourse. But if Josh Allen gets 1 MVP, you look back on it, I think, in a whole different light. It puts you in a different echelon, right? Matt Ryan's an example you could use where it's like Matt Ryan, if he never won the MVP that he did, all you would remember Matt Ryan for is blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. But the MVP is kind of like his anecdote to that. Even though you still do remember Matt Ryan mostly for the worst Super Bowl loss of all time, having that MVP is kind of like the safety valve to that. Yeah, that was brutal, but, Matt Ryan was still a hell of a quarterback. If you don't have the MVP, I don't know if you go to that. Reading through some comments here. Joe R's coming back in. Josh's teammates did not help him in the Pats game except Cook. This is why we're having this conversation. Yeah, we got the win. His team didn't do squat to help. I mean, the defense was not great in the beginning of the game, and collectively they just weren't great against the Pats. But it ultimately fell down to what Josh Allen did on Sunday. If Josh Allen played better, then it really wouldn't have mattered. He just didn't play all that great. The point I can give you would be the Bills actually lost the game to the Rams, but nobody cared about that in terms of the MVP because Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns. So in terms of the MVP, it was more, yeah, the Bills lost, but the defense let them down, man. Josh Allen was incredible. Now in a victory, it was like, yeah, they won, but Josh Allen didn't play very well. Right? Keon saying all this talk, Allen's still the favorite, so I don't know why y'all still complain. I don't think we're I don't want to think I'm complaining. I'm more just trying to talk my way through what's going on right now. I also look at it and think that Josh Allen will have one less game as well played because maybe he won't. I don't know. I guess it all depends, but in reality, the Ravens want to win the division, so they're going to have to play their starters against the Browns, despite whether the Bills win or not this upcoming week. So, no, the Ravens will be playing their starters. So, in all likelihood, if the Bills beat the Jets, and currently right now they're a massive favorite, Josh Allen will have one less game than Lamar. So, in thinking about that, that's probably going to have an impact on those odds. I'm seeing a whole different contingent of Ravens fans in here. I saw someone saying Josh will never be on Lamar's level. See, this is what I'm getting at. See, that's just crazy to me, man. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, but the thing is, there's nothing I can tell you that's going to change your mind on that. I'm not going to sit here and try to do that. I mean, I'm not. But ultimately, that's why I think a level-headed NFL fan would probably want Allen to win this one simply because we're going to look back and that's going to be the narrative and it couldn't be farther from the truth. Right? Couldn't be farther from the truth. What's Lick here saying? Yeah, so there's a possibility, right? So don't the Ravens clinch their division with a Pittsburgh loss to Cincy? Yeah, so if Pittsburgh loses, then I think that the Ravens would clinch. But what time are those? They don't think they've announced the times of the games next week. So they might not know. In all likelihood, the way that they schedule the games, they make it so that you don't know ahead of time.
Buffalo Fanatics, what's going on? This is Pierre the Kingpin, and I wanted to talk to you today about Cigars International, which is the ultimate destination for premium homemade cigars. Known as the industry leader, Cigars International offers the largest selection, unbeatable prices, and a customer service experience that's second to none. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned vet, Cigars International makes enjoying cigars easy, approachable, and fun. Cigars International is the go-to retailer for all things cigars, with the biggest selection of premium homemade cigars available anywhere. Cigars International offers unbeatable deals and discounts, making it easy to stock up on your favorite or try something new without breaking the bank. With fast free shipping and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing that Cigars International stands behind every order. They have good relationship with vendors that helps provide great low prices. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned pro, Cigars International makes it easy to find the right cigar with helpful guides, staff reviews, and expert advice. It's not just about cigars. Cigars International also offers a wide range of accessories and more to elevate your smoking experience. Check out the great deals every day at cigarsinternational.com. That's cigars, CIGARS, international.com. Use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply. Again, use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
They'll probably play those games at the exact same time, and the Ravens won't know the outcome of that game. Meaning the Ravens will have to play their starters. I mean, either way, I can almost guarantee you that the Ravens are going to be playing their starters in Week 18. James is coming in. Thurman won an MVP. You think he gives a shit? No, absolutely not. He would trade that MVP and his left nut for a Super Bowl win. Josh would too. But I've been saying this all year. And James, I don't know if you've been around I've had this conversation a bunch on here. It's okay to want both. The coping mechanism for Bills fans is always, oh, Josh doesn't care about the MVP. He wants the ring. Why do we care about the MVP? It's not nearly as valuable as a ring. No one's saying that it is. I'm certainly not. I mean, it's the most no-brainer decision of all time. If you had to choose between the two, it wouldn't even be it's not even worth having a debate over it. But I'm talking about the historical value of the MVP. We look back at Thurman Thomas as one of the greatest running backs of all time. He's one of the best Bills players of all time, certainly. And he was a pivotal part of one of the greatest teams of all time. And he's got the MVP to show for that. Because he didn't win a Super Bowl. But he's got the MVP. And when you look back, you can correlate that to how great of a player Thurman Thomas was. There's no saying that Josh Allen is going to win a Super Bowl. So just because he doesn't win the MVP doesn't mean he's going to win a Super Bowl and that's going to matter more or whatever. I care about what you can control right now. And I feel like Josh Allen controlled his ability for 95% of the season to win an MVP. And when you look at the fact that Lamar's got 2 and Josh Allen has 0, I just feel like based on legacy, it matters. At least it matters. It matters to me. As a guy who grew up on a Bills team that never had anything close to what we currently have right now. I wasn't alive for the 90s teams. I wasn't alive for Jim Kelly. So I never got to witness anything currently like I'm witnessing. And I think that even if you were alive for those years, I don't think you've ever witnessed anything quite like Lamar or Josh Allen or Mahomes, really. We're living in a very special time in terms of the quarterback position in the NFL. We are watching some all-time talent right now. All time. I mean, all 3 of these guys right here are going to be, they're 3 of the best I've ever seen. And to me, it's upsetting to think that guy in Josh Allen, who I think, once again, any level-headed, reasonable NFL fan would tell you that's one of the best athletes I've ever seen play the position. How do you not have something to show for it? We can't guarantee a Super Bowl. We just can't. And I would like to see Josh Allen have something to show for it. Richie, but the part about is if Lamar gets his 3rd, you'd think that translates to playoff success. Nope. It would be 3 MVPs to only 2 playoff wins. It's insane. Allen not getting MVP will fuel him more. I don't know. How much more fuel does Allen need? I mean, really, he had an incredible year. How much more fuel does he need? If anything, when does it start leading into frustration? When does it start leading into, like, what the hell do I got to do here? Because Allen gets shit on no matter what. So say Allen has the year he has this year, but he doesn't win the MVP. It'll make him look bad because Lamar has 3 and he has 0, even though he was just as deserving. And looking back on it, people shit on Josh Allen as it is right now for not having a championship or not making a Super Bowl, even though he has played lights out against the Chiefs. Josh Allen has incredible playoff numbers. The defense has failed him multiple times in the postseason, but nobody cares about that. All they care about is what did the quarterback do? Or all they care about is what happened, and then you put that on the quarterback. They don't look at it in a nuanced way. Well, Josh Allen played really well, but man, defense got cooked in the 13 seconds. Man, defense was decimated against the Chiefs last year. They got cooked. Travis Kelce cooked them. Chiefs were scoring every chance they had. Nobody cares about that. All they care about is, did you win or did you lose? And if you won, it's all because of the quarterback. If you lost, it's all because of the quarterback. Right? Ergo, Josh Allen is looked at as a bum by some people because he hasn't beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs. What more could Allen have possibly have done in the 13-second game? And last year, Josh Allen did more than enough to win that football game. They just didn't win it. So it'll be interesting to see. Right now, as we talked about earlier, Josh Allen still currently is favored to win the MVP. He's minus 225 right now on BetUS. He is still currently the favorite to win it. But as I mentioned, he was minus 900 just about a week ago, and it is now down to minus 225. So it'll be very interesting to see how this all winds up changing. And, this Jets game, it probably has a lot riding on it. If Allen does go out and has 4 TDs, to me, I don't think it should matter that much. What does it matter what Josh Allen does against the New York Jets, the dumpster fire Jets? Why does it matter if Josh Allen goes out and dominates in that game? But it does. It just does. What have you done for me lately? What's up with the next at-bat? And I don't care if they're throwing you underarm pitches or they're throwing you Randy Johnson fastballs. What are you doing with the at-bat? Because nobody's going to care who's throwing the ball. Nobody's going to care what type of pitch you face. Did you hit it out of the park or not? So if Allen hits it out of the park against the Jets, it should go a long way. But if he has, a decent day, I'm interested to see. What happens if Allen has a decent day against the Jets and Lamar goes out against the god-awful Cleveland Browns and has a great day? Does he win it because of that? A lot will unfold here in a couple of games that seem like they're just, corner TV games. But right now, Josh Allen is the favorite at minus 225. That number is reduced significantly from what it previously was. But no matter where you stand right now, if you want to get in on the MVP decision-making yourself, if you want to take your stance on who's going to win it, you can do so on BetUS. Promo code's YouTube150. It'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. I will say this. In defense of both parties here, in defense of Allen and defense of Lamar, pretty cool that the MVP race is actually a race this year. Last year, it just didn't feel like it was very exciting, and it just kind of felt like Lamar won it by default. We're probably going to go into awards night this year really having no idea who's actually going to win it. So in defense of both of them, what they've given us is actually cool in that regard. It feels like typically every year we kind of go into that night knowing exactly who won it. This is about as tight as a race as we've had in a while here. So to that point, I think that's pretty cool. I think that no matter what happens over the next couple of weeks, no matter what Josh Allen does or Lamar does, I think regardless of that, we are going to go into awards night and really have no idea who's going to win it. And I think that that's pretty cool. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's talk about the more pressing issues at hand outside of the MVP. And I'll just put a bow on it with this. I hope Allen wins it, but man, I'm so sick and tired of the discussion over it in terms of what it's become online. Everyone's just using it as engagement farming. Everyone's just using it as rage bait. It's crazy. Click on the comment section of any one of these posts, and it's all you see right now. Who's your MVP? And then it's just, there's 10,000 comments, and it's just people killing each other. If you can't realize that these two guys are two of the best in the league, the amount of people that I've seen bashing Lamar and the amount of people I've seen bashing Josh Allen, it is just crazy. Crazy. It's like Aaron Butler in here right now in the chat. Josh Allen can't throw accurately, hence 9 for 30. Seeing a lot of that brought up. Seeing a lot of what Josh Allen did against the Texans. Yes, Josh Allen had a bad game. Josh Allen had a bad game against the Texans. He certainly did. Where was Lamar's heroic performance against those Raiders or against those Browns? We all have bad games, but for some reason that game stands out more because of what the Texans have fallen off a cliff compared to where they were. Keon's saying it's your fans mostly. It's mostly our Bills fans. No, it's not, Keon. Keon, you're just more embedded into the Ravens side of things. This is what's tough about social media. I'm seeing both sides of the coin here. Both sides are being incredibly irrational. Both. I'm not excusing the 9 for 30 game, by the way. It was a terrible game for Josh Allen. Awful. It was the worst, probably the worst game Josh Allen's had in his career. But how can you can't just bring up the 9 for 30 game without bringing up the 6 touchdown game against the Rams? How about what he did against the Lions? How about what he did against the Niners? How about handing the Chiefs their lone loss with that huge touchdown at the end? I don't know. All right, let's talk about the more pressing issue at hand, and that's the current playoff picture. So yesterday we got that playoff picture more solidified. The Chiefs have solidified the 1 seed. The hopes of the Bills getting that 1 seed seem to dissipate pretty frantically after the loss to the Rams. It just felt like once you needed to overcome 2 games on the Chiefs, that was never going to happen. Couldn't even I don't think it was going to happen with 1 game. And as it stands right now, it wouldn't have. The Chiefs would have to have played their starters next week against the Broncos, probably. I mean, they would have had to have played their starters against the Broncos next week had the Bills have won that Rams game. But they probably would have beaten the Broncos. In a playoff-style game where the Chiefs have to win to get a 1 seed, would you really take a rookie Bo Nix in that situation to win that football game against the Chiefs? Absolutely not. So regardless of whether or not, the Chiefs needed to lose 2 games or 1 game, it wasn't going to happen. The Bills needed it to happen in the moments where it didn't happen. When they make the field goal at the end of the game on the doink to beat the Chargers. When they have the Raiders commit what was it, an offsides or whatever on a play that they should never have ran. They should have just kicked the field goal. That was the moment. Blocking the field goal when the Broncos would have won the game on a 30-yard chip shot. That was the moment. Right? They had their chances, but the Chiefs never allowed that chance to come to fruition for the Bills. So even if the Bills needed just 1 loss, I don't think it was going to happen. Once they needed 2, it was a fool's errand. And of course, obviously didn't wind up coming to fruition. The Chiefs have clinched the 1 seed in Week 17 with their dominant victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now the Bills are playing for the 2 seed. And the magic number is 1. All the Bills need is 1 victory over the next 2 weeks to solidify that 2 seed. And they will have a home game, obviously, in the wild card and then the divisional round with the AFC Championship either being in Kansas City or if something crazy happens prior to that, which I highly doubt, potentially in Buffalo. But I think we know that the Arrowhead Invitational will once again be back in Kansas City yet again, based on how the previous years have transpired and based on how this year has transpired. And we'll talk about the Chiefs here in just a minute because I got a lot to say about the Kansas City Chiefs. But they solidify the 1 seed. And with the Baltimore Ravens beating the piss out of the Houston Texans, they are very much in consideration for the 2 seed now as well. If the Bills were to find a way to lose out, which, I don't even know if I can find a way to bring myself to consider that possibility, but a possibility nonetheless. The Ravens could become the 2 seed. The Bills are going to be the 2 seed. In all likelihood. I mean, there really isn't a reality that I can foresee where the Bills are going to not get the 2 seed. But that's not really what I'm getting at here. It's not what I'm about to talk about here. The 2 seed to me, that's wrapped up. Bills are going to, in 2 games against the Jets or the Patriots, they're going to win one of them. So, for hypothetical reasons, let's just say the Bills get the 2 seed. Why yesterday sucked is because the path for the 2 seed seemed like it wasn't going to be all that bad. We had said for the longest time that the consolation prize of not getting the 1 seed was going to be that the Bills with the 2 seed wouldn't have to face the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. The way the playoff picture had looked for the longest time, it had looked like the Ravens were going to finish with the 5 seed. And because of that, the Bills would avoid having to play them in the divisional round, and the Chiefs would have to play them in the divisional round. We had thought it was going to be the Bills against either the Chargers or the Broncos, and then, in all likelihood, be the Bills against the Steelers in round 2. That is no longer the case. Based on what has occurred over the last couple of weeks, including the Baltimore Ravens beating the Steelers and then beating up on the Houston Texans yesterday, including the collapse of the Pittsburgh Steelers in general over the last handful of weeks or so, losing 3 games in 11 days, Pittsburgh showing their true colors here. Pittsburgh, in all likelihood, is going to lose the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens, in all likelihood, are going to win the AFC North. And the result of that is the Bills are now going to have to play the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. And the one thing that I've said all year, and I've been staunch in this belief from the get-go. The one team currently in the playoff picture that I didn't want the Buffalo Bills to see until absolutely necessary was the Baltimore Ravens. The Bills currently, defensively, are not set up to have major success against a team like Baltimore. I mean, in reality, the majority of the league isn't. I mean, let's be honest. The best rushing team in football. You got the most dynamic quarterback in terms of those 2 spots and of those 2 aspects of the offense, in conjunction with a first ballot Hall of Fame running back. And like I was talking about earlier, what's lost in the whole discourse of the MVP is what Derrick Henry's doing. I mean, have you seen performances like Derrick Henry's be talked about less than you have the last couple of weeks because of the MVP conversation? Derrick Henry has gone nuclear the last couple of weeks. And he's had an unbelievable year. And we know what he did to the Bills the first time that they played. And we really know what the majority of solid rushing teams have been able to do against the Bills. Put up points, run the football. The Bills' Achilles heel this year defensively has been stopping the short passing game and stopping the run. And I just think that nobody does that better currently in the playoff picture as it stands than the Baltimore Ravens. You saw firsthand what that looked like when they played, and you kind of seen that in other aspects as well throughout the year here. I mean, even in a W against the Lions, they were still able to move the ball up and down the field, and that was without running the football. because the way that the game wound up going, the way that the game wound up being set up early on, the Lions kind of had to bail on the run, but they were still able to get the short passing game going, putting up points. Same exact thing for the LA Rams, right? To me, it feels like out of all the teams currently in we know that the Bills, despite their lack of success against the Chiefs in the playoffs, the Bills are built to compete with the Chiefs. That's why nobody's beaten Mahomes more than Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, haven't beat them when it matters the most. But we know that really no one's been more competitive with them than the Bills. And that's because of their ability, based on what they've done, based on how they've set things up. They're built to compete with them. And going into a game against the Chiefs in the playoffs, you can't project a W until you see it. But you know, based on what the Bills have done against the Chiefs, that you know that game is going to be highly competitive and it's going to come down to the wire. Can the Bills finally make that one more play? You look around the rest of the playoff picture, and, I just don't think anybody scares you. The way it's currently set up right now, there is no possible way, in my opinion, that the Super Bowl representative of the AFC is not the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Ravens. There is just absolutely no way. I would bet my entire life on it. There's not a thing, including my life, that I would not bet on either the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Ravens being the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. There's just no way to me that the Texans, the Steelers, the Chargers, or the Broncos are nearly good enough to get there. Not even close. There's just no way. And out of those three, the two that the Bills will have to face, the Ravens or the Chiefs, despite the lack of success against the Chiefs, I think the Bills are better built to compete with the Chiefs than they are the Ravens. And it felt like, okay, listen, if you have to face the Ravens, let it be in the AFC Championship. Let it be as far out as you can possibly get it. But that's not going to be the case now. The Bills, in all likelihood, are going to have to play the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. And I think that was probably the biggest loss from Christmas afternoon. The Steelers really did not do the Bills any favors over the last couple of weeks. Steelers were at the top of that division for a long time. And now it's over. All the Ravens got to do is beat the lowly Browns, and that's their division. Now, luckily, the game's going to be in Buffalo. As I've told you before, I'm not sitting here saying I'm predicting a loss to the Ravens. I'm not sitting here saying I'm scared of anybody. But you're out of your mind if you don't look at the playoff picture and want to pick and choose the teams you'd rather play. And I would much rather play anybody else than Baltimore the way that the Bills are built. Lick's coming in. He's saying, you make us sound soft. We have Josh Allen. You should be getting your draft boards ready if you feel this way. I mean, and this is the whole point I'm getting at. I don't know what to tell you. There's no points given to wanting to play the tougher route. There just isn't. There's no benefit to wanting to play the Baltimore Ravens earlier than you have to. My whole thing was I'd rather see him in the AFC Championship should that be what it is. You also have the Chiefs and the Ravens. They were supposed to play each other in the divisional if things were going the way that we were hoping they were going to go. That inevitably eliminates one of them. Now the Bills will have to beat both of them. So I'm not sitting here making the Bills sound soft. I'm sitting here telling you why wouldn't I want the alternative? Why would I want to play both the Chiefs and the Ravens if I have a path to only have to play one of them? I mean, to me, that's just common sense. This is the narrative I'm seeing tossed out online all over the place here. And Kermit's coming in here. Stop being scared, bro. I never understood that. I never understood that. Why would you not want the most optimal path? Right? I mean, Kermit, if you're a Chiefs fan, I know you got it done last year in an incredible way. I mean, it was unbelievable, right? On the road, having to go to Buffalo, having to go to Baltimore, it was beyond impressive. Wouldn't you have rather have had an easier route, though? In hindsight, you'll probably say no because you won the whole thing. But look, I'm a Bills fan who's never seen more than a blowout in the AFC Championship to the Chiefs. If I can have the best path possible, I'm signing up for it. I am signing up for it. I don't care how the Bills get there. If the Bills had to play a Mahomes-less Chiefs because that injury wound up being worse, if the Bills never had to play Lamar, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, man, doesn't count, or, oh, would have been better if they beat Mahomes at full strength. Would have been better if they beat the Ravens. I don't care how the Bills do it. There's some fans out there who feel that way. I don't. I don't care how they do it. I just don't. I just want them to do it. The path to it does not matter to me. Therefore, I would much rather have the more optimal path. And to me, the less optimal path is now having to play the Ravens in the divisional and then more than likely having to play the Chiefs after that. Right? And the way it was looking for the longest time was that it was going to be the Ravens and the Chiefs battling it out to eliminate one another, and the Bills having to then face the winner of that in the AFC Championship. So, yes, that is frustrating to me. Yes, that is a blow to the belt to me, having to now have to play both of them. And I also think that the Bills are going to have to give 115% against the Ravens, while the Chiefs are going to have to come off of a bye, multiple byes, by the way, because the Chiefs are going to rest their starters this upcoming week. Then they're going to have a bye, and then they're going to go into the divisional, and who are they going to be playing? More than likely, Pittsburgh. If not Pittsburgh, the Texans. You just saw what the Chiefs did to Pittsburgh yesterday. You saw what they did to the Texans last week. The Chiefs are destroying either one of those teams. The Chiefs are going to walk to the AFC Championship. Meanwhile, the Bills and the Ravens are going to have to fight to the death in the divisional and then carry that into the AFC Championship. So if the Bills were to win the divisional, they're going to go in there off of a highly emotional, crazy game, more than likely. Same with the Ravens. And it's just not set up for success for either one of them against the Chiefs, right? Goes for both sides. The Ravens beat the Bills in the playoff. If the Ravens beat the Bills in the divisional, they'll then have to go into the AFC Championship off of a crazy intense game in Buffalo, and it just seems to favor the Chiefs having to play either Houston or Pittsburgh after multiple weeks off. Same thing goes for Buffalo. So to me, this was the biggest kicker because the Bills are now going to have to do both. So if they wind up doing it, no one can say it was undeserved. And I can already see it now. If the Bills didn't have to play either Mahomes or Lamar, that would be what people would say afterward. Oh, well, the Bills, they only had to play one of them. So, of course they made it. Of course they won it. So I guess the silver lining here is if they do it, the people out there who seem to put a ton of stake in how you get there, to me, it doesn't matter at all. But to those people out there who think that matters, those people out there who care about that, they won't have much to say in terms of arguing against the Bills and their ability to go and do it. But that's in all likelihood what's going to be the divisional matchup. Now, obviously, both of these teams can't slip up. The Bills would have to beat Denver. The Ravens would have to beat the Chargers. But both those teams will be heavily favored in both those games at home. And then that's what leads to the matchup in Buffalo between the two. And for a while there, it just felt like, oh, even though the Bills might not get the 1 seed, they're going to be able to at least have Mahomes or Lamar knock each other out. Knock one of the two out. That's the optimal setup. You know, when it comes to winning the Super Bowl, you have to have a lot of things go right for you beyond being a really damn good team. You have to have a lot of things go right for you, too. I mean, ask Tom Brady. Malcolm Butler doesn't make that play on the goal line and they just hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch. They don't win the Super Bowl. You got to have things go right for you. Ask Tom Brady in the other essence. Undefeated season, if you don't have the David Tyree helmet catch, they complete the perfect year. Like, you got to have a lot of things go right for you. And if there one or two things don't go right for you, it makes it that much harder. One of the things that could have gone right for the Bills would have been being able to not have to play both the Chiefs and the Ravens. Now they will absolutely have to play both. My main man, Jeff King's coming in here, and he's saying, I mean, Jeff King's been around long enough to know it doesn't matter how the hell you do it, so long as you do it. And you'd rather have the more optimal route to doing it. Jay King saying, speaking as a fan since 74, I don't give an F how they get there, just get there and win it. Well, it's just now become more difficult. Be a hell of a game, though. Shatter ratings, I'll tell you that. Will be a hell of a game. And that's why yesterday it just felt like Christmas Day was it was Grinchmas for the Bills. Because not only did Josh Allen's MVP stock take a major hit, but they lost out on the 1 seed, and then now they're going to have to play the Ravens in the divisional. Look at that. See, I love that. Kermit and I come into some common ground here. Doesn't matter how you do it. You're right. As a Chiefs fan, bring on both the Ravens and the Bills. And speaking of which, how much more beneficial is this now to the Chiefs? You want to talk about having the greatest Christmas of all time yesterday. Not only do you get to 15 wins, incredible. Not only do you get to 15 wins, Travis Kelce breaks the touchdown record, beats Tony Gonzalez's record. You clinch the 1 seed, and now you're guaranteed to avoid one of the two, the Ravens or the Bills. The way things were going for the Chiefs, the 1 seed, in all likelihood, was going to result in them having to play both the Ravens and the Bills. Now they're only going to have to play one, and that's coming off of 2 weeks off. Really now 3 weeks. They're off starting yesterday afternoon. They won't play next week. They won't play the week after. And then their playoff game will be the week after that. So really, the Chiefs are going to have about 3 weeks off. Then they're going to play one of 2 teams that they've already beaten the absolute shit out of. And then they'll only have to play either the Ravens or the Bills. So the rich get richer here, man, because Kansas City made out like a bandit on Christmas Day. And it felt like the gifts that were stolen by KC were stolen from the tree of the Buffalo Bills. And Richie, I wonder where you got this stat from. Oh, that's right. Me tweeted this out yesterday. So I guess if you're a man of history, then the odds are not great for the Kansas City Chiefs. The last team to win a Super Bowl with 15 plus victories in the regular season was the 85 Bears. So it is going on 40 years since, but with that, is there a narrative that Mahomes and the Chiefs have not shattered? So it's almost like it would be fuel. I could see Andy Reid taking that stat. I could see him screenshotting my tweet. Some random person sending up the chain of command. Just because I could see the Chiefs utilizing literally any little thing as motivation. I could see my little rinky-dink tweet finding its way up the ladder, and Andy Reid winds up taking it and saying, look, there hasn't been a team to do this in 40 years. Are you really going to be another statistic? Couldn't you see it? Right? One more thing that Mahomes can add to the laundry list of things that he's accomplished. But a long time, though, because it's hard to win that many games and then keep it going in the playoffs. The casualties of this have been the Vikings back in the 90s, the 15-1 Cam Newton MVP Carolina Panthers were a casualty of that. Of course, the undefeated New England Patriots were a casualty of that. Crazy. I want to close up shop here by talking about these Kansas City Chiefs real quick, because I've been seeing a lot of talk surrounding them really all year long, but a little bit more so as we headed into December and people are starting to finalize who they think is going to win it all. And I saw Nick Wright had come out and had a conversation with someone on a podcast about how he doesn't understand the hate that the Kansas City Chiefs get. And he doesn't understand why they're so doubted. And to me, I was confused as to why Nick Wright didn't quite understand it, because to me, it makes perfect sense as to why the Kansas City Chiefs are doubted. And the Kansas City Chiefs have been doubted up until this point because, similar to what I was talking about earlier with the MVP, the Chiefs are being doubted because there is massive Kansas City Chiefs fatigue. There might be some Lamar MVP fatigue out there. That's why people are frustrated with the idea that he could win it again. There is far more Kansas City Chiefs fatigue than there is MVP Lamar fatigue. I mean, in reality, it's not even comparable. Everybody outside of the Kansas City Chiefs area is sick and tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. They're sick and tired of them. They've had enough. So how does that equate to them being doubted? Well, it's because everybody wants to doubt them. They want it to be over. They want the reign of the Chiefs to be over. So because of that, they find ways to convince themselves that it's coming to an end. They find storylines, they find narratives to put out there to convince themselves that what we've seen over the last several seasons is coming to a screeching halt. Right? The reason for the doubt is simply because of that. And when you factor in the Chiefs' fatigue with how they've played, it creates even more doubt. You have people throwing out there, worst 15-1 team we've ever seen. They've been saying this for weeks, right? Worst 10-1 team we've ever seen, worst 11-1, worst 12-1, worst 13-1, so on and so on. The reason that they're saying this is because the Chiefs' offense doesn't look the way that it once did. The Chiefs' offense is no longer as prolific as it was when Tyreek Hill was on the team. They're not airing it out 60 yards down the field for a Tyreek Hill touchdown. Mahomes isn't throwing for 400 yards on a weekly basis. Hell, they're not scoring more than 30 points. They haven't scored more than 30 points all year long. And I'm sure you've seen the stat thrown out there where they list out the teams in 2024 that haven't scored more than 30. You got the Chiefs at 15-1, and then you got the Patriots with 3 wins. You got the Giants with 2 wins or whatever. And it's crazy. You factor in how they've played with how much they've won, and that's where the doubt comes from. Because people are so sick and tired of not only them winning, but they're sick and tired of how they're winning, right? They've had multiple wins this year where they've scored 19 points. The reality is the Chiefs, compared to what they once were, the Chiefs have become, or I don't want to kill my point that I'm going to say here in a second. The Chiefs for 90% of the season here have been boring. They have not been that fun to watch until the final minute or so, because you know something crazy is going to happen and they're going to end up winning it. The Chiefs have played boring football. It's been defensive-oriented football, and then Mahomes makes the plays necessary in the end to win. But the Chiefs have had multiple victories this year where they've scored 22 points or less. They scored 22 against the Falcons and won. They scored 17 against the Chargers and won. They scored 16 against the Broncos and won. 19 against the Raiders and won. 19 against the Chargers and won. 21 against the Browns and won. It's boring. It's not what you're used to watching from them. When you go from watching Mahomes go nuclear with a prime Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill to this, you naturally think they're not as good. But the end result is all that matters. They were winning games then. They're winning games now. They've won 19 of their last 20 games, with that lone blemish, of course, being the Buffalo Bills. But they've won 19 of their last 20 games. So who the hell cares if they haven't scored more than 30? But people do. And they're finding all of these reasons to doubt. And that's why I was a bit confused from Nick Wright's take on how he doesn't understand why they're doubted. Well, they're doubted because people want to doubt them. The reality is, though, that no one doubts them. No one actually doubts them. And you're seeing right now why. Because what's happening? Christmas has come and gone, and the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the best football of the entire season. The last 4 weeks, we'll just say the last 5 weeks. 19 points against the Raiders, 19 points against the Chargers, and then it's 21 against the Browns, 27 against the Texans, 29 against the Steelers. And in all 4 of those games, their opponent was held to less than 20 points. And you've seen an increase in scoring every single week the last calendar month. There's never been a doubt of the Kansas City Chiefs by anybody who's actually paying attention. The doubt was being put in your face because the doubt is being prayed for. The doubt is being begged for. But you're seeing right now why anybody who actually had a doubt is a fool. Because what they're doing right now is exactly what they did last year, and myself included, got into the camp of thinking, man, I don't understand how you can lose to the Raiders on Christmas Day and somehow turn it around dramatically enough to win 3 playoff games into the Super Bowl and beat a team that in all likelihood is better than you roster-wise. I did not fathom the way the Chiefs were playing last year that they were going to be able to beat Buffalo on the road, the Ravens on the road, and then beat either the Lions or the Eagles or the Niners. I shouldn't say Eagles. I'm confusing the Eagles of this year with last year. The Niners or the Lions in the Super Bowl, when both of those rosters almost unarguably were better than the Chiefs. And what did they do? They did exactly that. This time last year, believe it or not, the Chiefs were playing worse football than they are now. And they went and did it. They're playing the best football that they've played all year long right now. They beat the Steelers, a playoff team. They beat the Steelers 29-10 without Chris Jones. They're getting healthier now. And now they have 3 weeks off. The Chiefs are as primed right now to win it as ever. They are far more primed to win it this year than they were last year. And even myself, I had fallen victim once again to the idea that maybe it was the year where somebody else does it. But as of right now, I'm sorry, but you have to be a fool to think that they should not be the favorite to win it again this year. They have a far easier path to do it this year than last year, and they did it last year in a gauntlet. Last year, they had to beat the Bills on the road, beat the Ravens on the road, and then beat a Niners team that roster-wise is just better than Kansas City. How can you argue it? That's what they did. Now, what do they have to do? Well, they don't have to play both the Bills or the Ravens. They only have to play one. All of the games will be at home. They have the bye week. And the divisional round game will be against a team that they've already dismantled that is half the team that they are. And then you get to the Super Bowl, and do I think Nick Sirianni would beat Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? Nope. Do I think Dan Campbell and the Lions would beat the Chiefs? Nope. Do I think Sam Darnold would beat the Chiefs? Nope. And that, in all likelihood, is going to be the 3 teams that have the best chance. One of those 3 teams will be in the Super Bowl. The doubt had stemmed from not only the fatigue of them winning, but the lack of entertainment value. And then you look at the Bills and the Ravens, right? The Bills and the Ravens, they play very entertaining, prolific football. So it's way easier to talk about the Bills and the Ravens than it is the Chiefs. How much time can you spend talking and praising the Chiefs when they win 19-17 against the Chargers on a doinked-in kick? How much time can you spend praising and hyping up the Chiefs after they win against the Raiders when Aiden O'Connell craps himself at the end of the game and fumbles the ball and time runs out? You really can't spend a whole lot of time on it, even though they all resulted in wins, and every single week outside the Bills game has resulted in wins. But what's really easy to talk about, what's really fun to talk about, is Josh Allen scoring 6 touchdowns against the Rams. What's really fun to talk about is the Bills winning 48-42 against the Lions. What's really fun to talk about is the Ravens going nuts with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and scoring 31 against the Texans and 34 against the Steelers, and Lamar having 5 touchdowns against the Giants. That's all really easy to talk about. So it's really easy to therefore cement those teams into the top spot over the Chiefs, even though they're still 15-1. It's way easier to talk about the Ravens and the Bills because they're far more entertaining than the Chiefs. And that's where the doubt comes from. You talk more about the Bills, you talk more about the Ravens, you talk less about the Chiefs, and then the narrative starts to become, well, the Chiefs aren't as good, the Bills are better, the Ravens are better. And as an unbiased fan right now, I think that you would be foolish to think that the Chiefs do not have the best chance to win it again, based on what's going on currently. Because not only have they won 19 of 20, but now they've avoided having to play both the Ravens and the Bills, which they had to do last year. The games are guaranteed now to be at home. One of their playoff games is guaranteed to be against a team that is going to get destroyed by them. And that's the path. So I just found it interesting because I had seen the talk about there's two narratives that didn't make sense to me. One, why the Chiefs were doubted, and then not understanding why they were doubted. And I think that if you don't understand right now why they shouldn't be doubted, then you never will. They're playing their best football when it's mattering most. And now they're going to be fully healthy, and now they're going to have 3 weeks rest and a far easier path to the Super Bowl. Put your Bills bias aside, and does this not shape up to be the best possible situation that the Chiefs could have hoped for? Put your bias aside, and does this not set up to be the most perfect scenario for Kansas City to do what no NFL team has ever done before? Can the Bills be the roadblock? The Bills are going to have to do now what the Chiefs did last year, essentially. Except they'll have the Ravens at home as opposed to having to go on the road. And Arrowhead, don't you come at me with saying I'm hyping you up. I'm not trying to hype you up. I'm just trying to put out there that the Chiefs cannot be the team that people look at and doubt. Because you're seeing now that all of a sudden out of nowhere, the offense is becoming a strong suit now, where it seemed like it was a bit of a liability for a couple months, right? Now they're putting up points. Now Xavier Worthy's becoming an intricate part of the offense. Now, once again, where's Travis Kelce, right? Travis Kelce disappears, gone for what, a full month or two? Christmas Day against a playoff team. 8 catches, touchdown. What happened last year? Travis Kelce was on a milk carton for 2 months. Goes off in the playoffs. I'm not here sitting. I see Josh is coming in. He's saying, so the season's over. Just say that. But no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, don't go into the playoffs anticipating to see the Chiefs play as poorly as they might have played throughout the year here. We've been given every reason to think that they won't. Last year should have been the singular reason we needed. But now you're getting more reason after the last couple of weeks here. As it stands right now, the updated odds to win the Super Bowl, the Bills have fallen back a couple of spots based on their performance against the Patriots. The Bills were the number 1 favorite to win the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago. They are now the 3rd favorite. The Chiefs currently the favorite to win it at plus 375. The Lions at plus 400. The Bills are at plus 500. So the odds have they've decreased on the Bills. And I like that, because if you think that the Bills are going to win it, you want the best possible money made, right? You want the highest odds possible to be able to cash in. So if you still want to get in on that, you can do it over at BetUS. The promo code's YouTube150, and that'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. This is the current situation in terms of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. And based on who's on here, there's just no way it's not one of these teams to me. I mean, can you foresee a situation where one of these teams does not win it? And the way I see it, I can't foresee a situation where it's not one of these AFC teams. I just think that the AFC right now, regardless of who the team is, whether it's Baltimore, Kansas City, or Buffalo, I think whoever gets there out of the AFC will be your Super Bowl champion. Got a couple more super chats before we close up shop. Want to get everybody out so they can go and watch the final Thursday night football game of the season. Can you believe that? Oh my God. I can't believe we're already at this point, man. Can you believe it? How bittersweet, man. Nothing better than this time of year for football in terms of the stakes, in terms of the high intensity of the entertainment, but man, is it bittersweet. Richie coming in, he's saying, By the way, hope your Christmas was great. Same to you, Richie, and everybody tuning in. I hope you all had a absolutely terrific Christmas. Richie's also saying, you hear the new narrative of Lamar fatigue for MVP. In other words, people now saying Allen only gets it because they feel bad or whatever, we can't win. No, I've heard that. And I think that to some degree, it's justified. The Lamar MVP fatigue is there solely because of how he won it last year. I don't think there'd be Lamar fatigue if he won it last year with the same numbers he has this year. The fatigue has been brought about based on the way that it was won last year, and it was just because it just wasn't a prolific year by anybody. And, at the end of the year, Lamar wins it. Now that he has substantially better numbers, people are just like, oh my God, again? Like I said earlier, if Allen didn't have the year that he was having this year, Lamar would win it going away, and I'd have absolutely no problem with it at all. And if Lamar had the numbers of this year last year, I'd have no problem with it all at all again. No problem. And I do think that there's politics involved, and it's not feeling bad for Allen. I look at it and say Allen's done more with less, and he's done more in a situation where he was expected to do far less. The Bills took a step forward in a situation where they were supposed to take a step back. The Ravens took a slight step back in a situation where they were supposed to maintain the success that they had last year. That, to me, leans Josh Allen when they have very similar numbers and they've had a very similar impact on the league this year in terms of how great they've been. Richie's also saying, reason why I welcome a rematch against the Ravens is because we're good at adjusting after losses. We know our track record against Chiefs in the playoffs. I'm not saying the Bills can't beat the Ravens. I'm just saying if I could choose the path, I would choose to only have to play either the Ravens or the Chiefs, not both. And that was looking like it was going to be the path for the Bills for a while until all of a sudden here it's not going to be. So it's not that you're going to have to, not that you want to welcome a rematch. You're going to have to welcome a rematch. What are the Bills going to do in that rematch? How are they going to respond? The Bills have had success against Lamar and the Ravens in the past. You just have to wonder if this defense is built to do it this year. It certainly wasn't the first time that they went head to head. But you look in the past, and the Bills have defended Lamar Jackson quite well throughout their matchups under the Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh era. Not this past game, though. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be closer to what you were able to do against him in the past, or is it going to be closer to what it was this season? And the Bills' offense is going to have to play far better than it did in that game. Far better. And that's really the only hope there. Because regardless of what the defense does, say they have a better day, I still don't see how the Ravens don't score in the high 20s at the least. The Bills are going to have a 30-plus point outing in that game to win it. No question about it. The Bills' offense was just as bad in that Ravens game as the Bills' defense was. Scored 10 points. Lowest point total of the whole year. By a wide margin. John Wozniak, the mortgage specialist. He's saying, I'm actually pissed. We were crap for so long, and there was always top 2 seeds get rest, and only 6 playoff teams. Now that we are good, 7 playoff teams, and only 1 seed gets the bye. It's BS. I've been saying it for the longest time, John. It is the ultimate irony, and it is the ultimate, comedic element of this whole thing. My whole life, the Bills have been mediocre to bad. As soon as they get good, the 2 seed no longer carries any real weight outside of having the home game in the wild card and the divisional. That's all you get out of it now. Growing up, of course, all the way up until the Bills got good, the 1 and the 2 seed got a bye. As soon as the Bills got good, the 2 seed bye got eliminated. I have found that to be the ultimate irony in all of this. It was like the sacrifice the Bills had to give for being good. And with the Chiefs being as great as they are, right? The 1 seed hasn't been in the cards. And when it could have been last year, the Bills had a real down first half of the year, and the Ravens took advantage. You can't help but laugh. As soon as the Bills get good, literally almost exactly at the same time, as soon as the Bills get good enough to be in contention for a top 2 seed, the 2 seed no longer has the validity, close to the validity that it used to. Jesse coming in. If we're going to the dance, let's totally crush it in expert mode. The table is set now, so it doesn't matter anyway. I like our chances. Bring on Ravens and Chiefs. Let's go, Buffalo. I love it, Jesse. I mean, look at here's how I see it. If it could be another way, you'd love to have it another way, but it's not going to be. This is what it is. So you got to embrace it. It's kind of what you're getting at here, Jesse. It's going to be expert mode. Are you going to be able to shred it through the fire and flames on expert mode, right? Guitar Hero 3. You've gotten all the way through the campaign. Now you're on the bonus tracks. Are you going to be able to shred this thing? They're good enough to do it. Are they going to be good enough to do it when it counts? This is going to be the path. Tell you what, if you're not a Bills fan or a Ravens fan, because you're going to be on your edge, you're going to be on the edge of your seat if you're on either side. What a game that's going to be for non-Bills and Ravens fans. Oh, my God. Bills-Ravens divisional round. Winner goes and takes on the Chiefs. Oh, man. Oh, man. Good football around the corner. I mean, my God. We got Thursday night football right now. Then we got Saturday football, Sunday football, Monday football. Then Tuesday we have college football playoff. Wednesday we have college football playoff. Then we have a full slate of weekend NFL. And then it's the playoffs. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's bittersweet, but man, is it great. Bittersweet, but great. Oh, boy. We are in for an amazing next couple of weeks here. Oh, my God. Man. Love it. All right. Nearly 2 hours in the books. That's going to do it. Go and watch the final Thursday night football game of the year. I know it's not the most beautiful game in the world. Bears versus Seahawks. Seahawks still have a very marginal chance to make the playoffs, so they got something to play for. But Bears, one of the more disappointing teams of the year. We'll see if they can get something to hang their hat on as the season ends here. But savor it. This will be the last Thursday night football game of the year, and there's going to come a time 2-3 months from now where you're going to wish that there was a Thursday night game on, regardless of whether it was the Saints versus the Giants or the Bills versus the Chiefs. You're just going to wish there was football on. So go and savor it. Enjoy it. And we'll talk later on in the week here. Thank you so much for tuning in the day after Christmas here. Nearly 2 hours in the books. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I got a wedding tomorrow. I'm ordaining it. My brother-in-law is getting married tomorrow. I'm ordaining it. So I got to go and practice my speech here and get ready to rock. So that's where I'll be. But I'll be back with you this weekend with Rico to preview Bills Jets and, of course, to recap Bills Jets. So can't wait to see you then. But until then, enjoy your Thursday night. Enjoy the rest of your holiday week here. On the way out the door, like button if you could, subscribe button if you could. And, of course, BetUS. You have the MVP odds up there, the Super Bowl odds, and all of the Week 17 odds. Take advantage of them using the promo code YouTube150. And that'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next two after that. Much love as always, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday afternoon. We'll talk then. Much love as always, and go Bills.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key. And that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.